In this episode of Client Profiles, we interviewed dairy farmer Barry Bishop. Can you give us some background information about yourself and your business?
Yeah, I grew up in Christchurch, migrated to Canada. While in Canada, I started thinking about having a bigger area than where it was in Christchurch. So I purchased this area, which I came back and I started farming. I started first with vegetables, but I realized you have to use too many chemicals and too much chemicals on the product. So I desist from the regular farming and I went to pigs. I was breeding pigs and selling the piglets. I changed from that and went to sheep. From sheep, I then transformed into beef. In the meantime, I leased some land for the landless from BADMC, and that way I shift then from beef after I had a bit more pasture. I shift from beef because that was not very profitable and went to dairy.
How did you hear about EGFL?
EGFL was that idea of EGFL and other lending agencies came from one or two meetings we had at BAS. As you know, I'm a member of BAS, and the different forms of financing was explained, and EGFL would have been the place for me to get my loan because my loan was bigger than rural. Rural could not help me, so I had to go to EGFL.
You were previously involved in beef farming. What caused you to switch to dairy farming, and has it been worthwhile?
Well, I switched to dairy farming because the beef market was kind of slow and it was not really that profitable. You put in more than you got out because of grass expenses and other expenses. Once it got into dairy, it was much different. Struggle at first, like with anything, you struggle for the first 2 or 3 years and then you start to get your footing right and you continue from there.
What are the critical ingredients in having productive animals and high quality milk?
It starts with nutrition. Nutrition from birth. You have to feed the calves in a manner that you would have them being healthy all the way through. Without proper nutrition, the animal growth would be stunted and you would have problems when it comes to breeding and production. The milk production would be down because the animal did not reach its full potential when it should have been fed to get there. So it's nutrition, and the other thing is sanitation. You must be very, very thorough in cleansing everything that you do in dairying. Dairying is not like pig production or anything like it. You have to be very, very thorough.
Pine Hill Dairy is essentially the sole buyer for local dairy. However, in the past, the demand for milk has been quite low. What options do farmers have to sustain their businesses when this happens? And what are the alternatives to the Pine Hill Dairy?
Let's start with the last one first. There are no alternatives to the Pine Hill Dairy. And when the price of milk went down, is because it was slightly overproduction. In a sense, sales were slow and the farmers was kind of overproducing. The price structure was such that you got one price for your quota milk, and when you were over quota, say for instance your quota is 100 gallons, and you're over 100 gallons, you get a lesser price. The lesser price you had to fight with in order to balance back.
As part of efforts to assist dairy farmers, the government has passed the Cess on Milk Act 2018. How is this program working, and how can it help to safeguard the future of the industry?
Program is not working because it's not in place yet, it don't seem. And we still have to work with the logistics, how the farmer would be paid. It should help the industry quite a bit, for the simple reason that we will be getting the cess off of which would help reduce some of the imported stuff. And the cess is supposed to be on mostly the imported milk, which would give us an opportunity to bring down which would give the dairy an opportunity to bring down the price of milk to the consumer. By putting the cess in place, that would help the consumer with fresh milk very much.
Since accessing fund from EGFL, has your staff complement changed?
I would say I actually have nearly the same people that I started with. My staff is about the same that I started with. It's just that you would use one or two other people as part-timers every once in a while, which gives some other persons a chance to get a job.
Do you utilize energy efficient and renewable energy solutions to assist in the operation of your farm?
My renewable is my water well. I have a water well which I use most of my washing down water and other water for the cattle to drink from. It's not saline, so it's fairly good for that purpose. That's about my only renewable thing I use, other than recycling the water that wash down the milking lines and stuff. We put that to wash down the holding area.
What do you think are some of the chief reasons why dairy farmers fail?
That is a hard one for me to answer because I don't know why they fail. I don't see why they should fail in the first place. But I imagine if it's not in your system or your blood, you would give up. But once you're a real farmer, you don't give up, you don't quit. If there's no rain, you understand there's no rain and you go along with it. If there's plenty rain, you still have to live with it. So you do not quit when it's like that.
What advice would you give a young person who is now starting out a career path in animal husbandry and dairy farming in particular?
I would ask them be sure that this is what they want to be in, because it's not an easy business to be in. Right now we're at 15 dairy farmers. There used to be more than 30 and they're down to 15. So you would have to be sure that that's what you want to be in. And if you're sure that that's what you want to be in, you look for one or two small, decent animals to start with. And then you grow slowly. But do not try to get in head first. Walk into it slowly.
Do you have any internship or apprenticeship program?
Yes, an apprenticeship program would be very helpful to encourage the youngsters or younger people to be involved, because you would get to see firsthand how it is done instead of just starting at the top.
Is your business involved in any community projects?
I'm not really involved in community projects. I do help every once in a while the scouts or anything at Bailey's. If they have the annual thing, I would donate to them. The other thing, I used to have school tours. I don't have them anymore because sometimes it's not feasible when they want to come. But I used to have plenty of school tours.
What advice would you give anyone choosing EGFL as a financial institution, and why?
A person who is qualified for EGFL should go to EGFL. There is a few hiccups in getting into EGFL, but I imagine in any financial institution there what you call red tape to get in. But EGFL on the whole, I would say, was very accommodating. Once I presented my business plan, it didn't seem to be that difficult. And anyone who is interested in EGFL, once they have the proper plan, I'm sure they would accommodate them.
How do you balance your time between business, family, and your other interests?
I juggle time because I have a replacement, in a sense. The wife, she is my replacement, so I will still have time to do other things, such as every once in a while return to Canada. So when I'm out, she's in charge.
What guides you? In short, what is your philosophy?
I've been motivated from small. I grew up with a pig being tied under the tree and had to feed it, goat tied under the cellar. All of those things are gone, but the actual thing still lives in me. I see it every day as something that you can live with and live off of. That's why I find that it's hard to walk away from at any time. I've been saying ever since I've been retired, but it don't seem as though as if I am. Farming is still in me.
Do you have any final comments about your relationship with EGFL?
My relationship with EGFL was very, very good. When I thought I was going to be in trouble at one point in time, I asked for an appointment to discuss what had seemed to be a problem. They were accommodating to me, but the problem never arose. So my experience with them was super. I would recommend anyone to be involved with EGFL.